Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see so many people on this snowy morning here in Oakville. And thank you so much for joining us. My name is Melissa Cameron, and I am the Director of Community Engagement here at Acclaim Health. And this morning, you're going to hear from both me and Renita Wood, who is our Director of Adult Day and Caregiver Support. And I just wanted to let you know a couple of housekeeping things. We are recording this presentation. So if you're in your pajamas, keep your camera off or keep it on. I mean, really, we're friendly here. You can if you really want. If you have a question as we go through the presentation, you can type it in the chat, or you will have the chance to unmute yourself at the end if you're feeling brave and would like to speak up. So we'll leave lots of time for that at the end. First of all, to get started, the point of this morning really is that this project has been years in the making, and many of you have been on that journey with us for years and years now, many more years than we thought we were going to be on this journey. But we are on the home stretch now. So we wanted to share with everybody exactly where we're at in terms of the planning, in terms of the construction. And Renita and her team are getting to the point where they're starting to work out some of the details on how the center will actually run, which I know we have a lot of caregivers on the call this morning. And so that information is particularly important to you. So how can you book a night of overnight respite care? I feel like that's the burning question, and it shall be answered this morning. Renita is working on those details. So if we could get the presentation up now, we're going to start in. So way back, cast your minds way back. Many years ago, when we decided to build a dementia care center, we spent a lot of time working with families and caregivers about what should this center have in it. If you could go to the next slide, Laura, please. And then we bought this building, which it actually looks better in that photo than it actually was in real life. It's pretty horrific. I think we're all aware. And next slide, Laura. And that's what we're aiming for, which is a whole heck of a lot better than what was on that photo. Next slide, Laura. So here's where we're at today. As I said, we spent a lot of time meeting with families and caregivers at the beginning of this process to say, what did this community need? What do we really need to improve dementia care in Halton? And throughout this presentation, you're going to see these little red notes. And that's really where we've taken the feedback from our clients and from our families and incorporated it into the center. So here, and I would also like to say that over the course of the last few years, this center has undergone many evolutions. Way back when we thought we'd only have 4 respite bedrooms, I'm happy to report that we now have 8, thanks to the generosity of this community. That's the blue section at the back. The yellow section is our Sheridan Adult Day program. That was important to have in this program. And the green section, early on, we didn't know what that section was going to be. We bought this building and it was a little bit bigger than we anticipated. And so we were going to just rough that in and have it for future expansion. But now I'm happy to report that we, since we merged with the Seneca Adult Day program earlier this year, we are going to be moving the Bond Street program into that green section of this building. So we are actually going to have 2 adult day programs in this building, one with a dementia specific focus, which is the yellow program, and the green one, which is an integrated program, which is excellent. And that purple space, families said caregivers need space too, to meet with staff, to decompress, to take a moment at drop off and pick up, to hold support groups. So those spaces have been incorporated into this building as well. I think Renita is going to take over now. Next slide. Yeah.
Alrighty.
So Renita is going to just take you through some of the specifics of the center, and I will jump back in at the end to provide a construction update.
Great, thanks, Melissa. And so as Melissa said, so excited to be here this morning because now it's getting closer and we can actually start to feel it, right? So really excited about that. And as Melissa mentioned, I'll be weaving in what we've heard from the community, our caregiver consultations, what we heard from staff, and just our best practices in planning this space as well. So to start us off, one of the things that we heard from our caregivers loud and clear is they wanted quick access to the building. Some of them may have had a challenging morning in getting ready for the day, convincing someone to get in the car, to arrive to the site, and then wanted to be able to enter that building fairly quickly. So, and Laura is being my highlighter here, but you'll be entering the lot from Speers Road, coming in on that kind of pink section there, and coming along there. And if you're just dropping off, you'll be going through the first turn circle. That's right. And then coming into what's called a stacking lane, which is close to the building. This will allow you to park, as I said, close to the building, to be able to do a drop off. There is a covered portico in this area as well, because the other challenge that caregivers have mentioned, it's even harder to convince someone to get out of the car if it's pouring rain or snowing or whatever the weather throws at us. So they wanted a covered area as well for drop off. Now, if you're coming in to actually spend time, maybe do an assessment, or you're coming in, you want to have time to chat with the staff, there is quick and easy parking right across from that drop-off area. And that parking will be designated for caregivers to be able to, as I said, attend a meeting, or just come in if you know you're going to have a coffee and sit and relax for a bit. You'll see there's a second turn circle towards the back of the building. That's actually for municipal transit providers or canes or larger vehicles that need a larger turning radius. So that is why there's a second turn circle on the plan. And then there is staff parking along the back of the building as well. So really having a thoughtful plan in how we want to access the site and maintain good traffic flow for the building. Thanks, Laura. Next slide. So the other thing caregivers had mentioned is they really wanted a kind of a warm entry area to enter the building. And as I said, once they've done drop off, is to be able to actually sit and maybe have a cup of coffee. You can go right away into the next slide. So this kind of spells it out a little bit better in that there is, if you see those red kind of chairs, that's an area for caregivers to perhaps meet up with another caregiver, have a cup of coffee. What we find at drop-off is that sometimes the caregivers, when you're passing each other at the same time, most times, you start connecting with one another. So, you know, it's like, hey, you've got time for a coffee. This is a space where you can have a cup of coffee. That square rectangle with a sink will be the coffee bar. So it's free for you to pick up a cup of coffee yourself. And what you'll notice here, there's actually no coat closets in this area. So the drop-off will be either you're going to the Bond Street program or you're going to the Sheridan Day program. The coat closets and everything is inside the adult day program. So really, this is a place for you to do that drop-off, transition your care off to the staff, and then a place for you to sit and relax. I think that you can see there's places to sit along the hallway as well. If that walk path, if you need an extra few moments to have a chair there, you can have a sit. Yeah, and I think that's everything on this slide. Oh, sorry. One thing, and you don't need to go back, Laura, but the other thing I forgot to mention there is the washrooms. So again, can be challenging if you've been running all morning and you're finally at the program, then washrooms are available, or alternatively at the end of the day. And often we find our transit providers often do need that as well. So sorry, that's an important feature for everyone. So the caregiver room. So this was a room that we wanted to use for multiple purposes. So it could have a support group. It could be an educational forum. So there's certainly room there for tables and chairs, but also it could be a warm, comfortable place to sit and chat with the staff member, or if it's open and available, a couple caregivers congregating in there. So there's going to be a combination of multi-uses for this space, with a combination of comfy furniture, and then your normal desks and tabletops and chairs, furniture. Great, thank you. Then we move into what is our Bond Street program. So as many know, the Bond Street program, if we just back up before I go to that one, Laura, that'd be great. I'll just let you know for those that need, they're not aware of the Bond Street program. It is currently run at 53 Bond Street at Central West Specialized Development Services. They've been there since 1979. So really great space. I believe they've just had their 40th year anniversary there. So, and it is what we call an integrated program. So what that means is for people that have maybe cognitive or physical challenges, it may be for people in the early stages of dementia, or it may also just be a frail older adult. That's not a great term, but it is a term that they use to describe someone who really just needs to be engaged in a program, but have that on-site supervision throughout the day. So not your senior center programs, but something a little bit extra that needs supervision. Okay, so now this is a big change for the Bond Street program, because as I mentioned before, we're at 53 Bond Street in one big room that was kind of multifunctional purposes. So this gives us a lot of opportunities to provide people with choice in being able to participate in a variety of programs. So there's a lot going on in this picture, and I'll kind of walk you through the ideas here. So the yellow blocks are what we call informal seating areas. So could be considered like a transitional area. So you've just arrived to the program. You're not really sure if you want to meet with a big group of people over there. So you can sit, relax, enjoy a cup of coffee here, or read a book, or, just it's more of a transition, a casual time. We'll find people usually at the end of the day tend to go to these spaces again because they know it's the end of the day and it's time to go, and they want to kind of be close to the door. So these are these transitional areas. You see we have a wonderful terrace there at the side as well, so that people can feel free to go out onto the patio there. We'll have some gardens there in kind of raised planters in that space. The other thing you can see in this picture is there are 4 bathrooms actually in the program. And we're very excited about our bathrooms. I got to tell you, that's one of the important functions of our life. But so there are 4 bathrooms, and previously they would have had to go into the hallway to access their bathrooms. And this way we've strategically placed them throughout the program. So of course there's a bathroom upon entry, and then bathrooms close to the activity areas. The blue areas are what we call our programming spaces or activity areas. So you see there's a combination there of one large room and then a smaller room. Thinking the smaller room might be for an artwork program or for reading circles where you just want to gather a few people together on a specialized program, and then the larger room for larger group activities. And again, the whole point of this is to give people choice, right? So that we're offering 2 different types of programs, and people have a choice to participate in either of them, or they can sit in the casual sitting area as well. And then further along, you'll see a purple section, which is our dining space. So again, really creating a dining experience. We feel lunch is just an important part of our program, as any of our other programs. So really wanted to make sure that we create the right ambiance to encourage socialization and to encourage good eating for us as well, because that's all part of wellness. And what we've done here too is that you'll see a light blue triangle square. That's what we call our home kitchen. So this kitchen area is meant to be kind of like a refreshment bar where you can pick up your drinks,
Renita, I think you should tell people, what we call it around the office. We call it the party kitchen. It's not the home, it's where people gather. If you were just having a party, this is where everybody wants to hang out.
Yeah, that's where everybody wants to hang out. And that's probably where everybody will go first thing in the morning, right? They tend to go for coffee, pick up their coffee and sit and chat in the dining space. So it definitely is always the party area. And the other thing we wanted to do is make sure that that space had an oven. So we purposely did not put the oven into what I'll talk about later is the industrial kitchen. We left it in the program space so that we could encourage the baking groups. And then if you're baking, you can actually see what's baking and you can smell what's baking, which is the best part of it all, is being able to smell it and enjoy it. So the oven is definitely inside the program. And then there'll be a fridge there and normal that we would find in your normal household kitchen there. And again, what that's doing is helping us make sure that what's in that kitchen is safe for everybody to have, and that we don't have to worry about locking cupboards and cabinets and so forth. Now, the shared industrial kitchen is multi-purpose across the whole building. So instead of having, say, 3 dishwashers throughout the whole building, we have 1 large industrial dishwasher. And the same with industrial fridges and freezers. And this really becomes the source of all food throughout the building. So it will serve both adult day programs and it will serve the overnight respite program as well. So really meant to be, that's the industrial piece. It also, what it does is keeps out that noisy equipment from our program areas, right? So we want to be able to run a program without having a lot of noise interference or a lot of clacking dishes and so forth. So really supporting the work that needs to happen behind the scenes. And I think that's a lot. So here's kind of our artist rendering of what the home kitchen is, you know, really meant to be warm, receiving, without that industrial feel to it. And now we move into our Sheridan program. So Sheridan program has been at Sheridan College since 2004. We are funded, and that's the other thing I wasn't sure if I mentioned yet. Bond Street is Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And they have about 18 club members a day. At Sheridan, it's funded for Monday to Friday for 25 club members a day, from 8 to 5. And then on Tuesdays, we're open later to 8:30 for 5 additional spots or club members, if you will. And then Saturdays, we're open for 20 club members. And the other thing with Sheridan that we know will continue into our new building is that we have a really good working relationship with the Sheridan Elder Research Center. So any of the funded, any projects or research pieces, we have a good relationship together to kind of explore that. Great. And so as we move into this floor plan, this is, you can see the same kind of color coding here. So the yellow is the smaller intimate settings, again, meant to be that transition area where people can, as they arrive, sit, take off their coats and belongings, and just get themselves ready for the day. There's also these additional seating areas along the side there, so that if they choose not to participate in any of the programs, they can still kind of keep their eyes on what's happening in the day and be available there. So, and the other highlight feature here is in that area that Laura has her cursor on right now, there's actually a 2-way fireplace. So again, creating that ambiance for the seating area, but also in our dining area, I tell you, there's always a race to have the tables by the fireplace. People love the fireplace in the kitchen. So, so we've, put 2 tables there. So double bonus there. But again, it's the same idea of a large dining area. As Melissa says, it's a bigger part of your room. And then the same concept for the home kitchen. And then you'll see that we have a walking circuit that's kind of wrapped around that middle room there, the special AV room that I'll speak to in a minute. So the walking circuit allows people, you'll find that people in the kind of middle stages of dementia, maybe not as comfortable sitting in one place. They're a little bit more restless, kind of wants to walk around. And this allows someone to have a walking circuit that really doesn't interrupt any programs. So they're able to freely meander along. The pathway will have some interesting artwork and some manipulatives, what we call manipulatives, things along the wall that people can touch and experience as they walk around. The light purple areas are what we call the quiet rooms. So we do know that someone that's, again, the middle to later stages of dementia, perhaps attending a full day program is a little overwhelming. So they do need some place where they can maybe sit and take a nap, So both of those rooms will have recliners, or what we call sleep chairs, that we can put out to form a full bed. Again, you'll see our favorite washrooms, so lots of brown squares there. And actually this space will have access to a few more washrooms in the next slide. We won't go there yet, but so again, washrooms are very important for us to make sure that we have one available when someone needs to use it. Now, there's two real neat features here that we're really excited about. And one of them is called the special AV room. So that's some interesting work that we've been already on a research project with the Sheridan Elder Research team on virtual reality. But what we wanted to do is take a different spin on the virtual reality, because we understand that for a lot of people, wearing a headset or goggles or something is not something that would be conducive to them. So we wanted to create more of an immersive experience. Think Star Trek holodeck kind of thing, but we're not at a full 360 yet for the holodeck. But what we're doing is we're taking the back wall of that room and putting up a large screen that will give you about 120 degrees range of vision. So most of our folks will be sitting in chairs. So really they won't be turning all the way around. They won't be looking behind them. So we feel that 120 will give us a good effect. And the screen will travel from the floor to about 6 feet in height. And really the idea here is to give that immersive experience. So maybe we'll take a trip to Niagara Falls. Maybe we'll take a trip to Italy. Maybe we'll have a lovely park scene there and do exercises in the park. So again, we really want to use this space as multifunctional. We can do a large group activity there, or we can do a one-on-one if somebody really needs to see their hometown somewhere, and we can Google it and pull that up on a stream. So again, we're looking for flexibility to the space and being able to do some really fun, creative work with immersive technology. Again, you'll see, the second most exciting feature, of course, is our 1,000 square foot indoor-outdoor garden. So I'm really happy about this because I finally get my solarium that I've wanted for a while. So this is meant to be kind of a solarium, full-time 24 access to all seasons of the year, and then being able to explore, enjoy that full light space, and then of course having the access to the outdoor garden. And we did put doors there because we want to be able to make sure that people don't go out to that space when it's not safe. So when it's really, really hot days and someone might be inclined to sit there for much longer than they should be, or on days where we've had a heavy snowfall and we need to make sure of someone's safety. So having two parts, we can feel like we're outdoors, but safely indoors, and then of course having the full outdoor garden as well for the good days. So those are really two key features that we're very excited about in this new building. We have our 2 program rooms as we currently do at Sheridan. So again, they're set up here for activities, but each of these spaces will also have casual furniture in them. So that, again, if someone chooses not to participate in the program, they can sit on the couches and chairs and be engaged in it, but from a distance. And the other thing here that we wanted to do is use the full space at all times of the day. So we're not ready to go into the overnight respite area yet, but you'll see on the far right, there's this kind of table and 4 chairs there. And that actually is the dining space for the overnight respite program. But we also want to be able to access during our adult day program hours, in that we have some folks who maybe cannot participate in the larger dining experience and really need a smaller dining experience so that they could actually engage in their meal and maybe with a few other folks at the table. So, or maybe need assistance with their meal. So depending on what the needs are of the person, we will be able to actually have 2 areas of having lunch. And that is something that we've started to trial actually at Sheridan and has been very successful with that plan as well. And the other thing is also the access to the indoor-outdoor garden. We wanted that to be available to our overnight respite folks. So they will be able to use this space during the overnight program as well. Great. And this gives you an idea, again, this is as you enter the adult day program, kind of what the feeling we were going for. So you can see that casual sitting area, that one wall will actually be a fireplace, but we will have that kind of pergola effect in that area as well. And then you can see that there's casual seating on to your right. And the idea here too is that you're drawn into the space, right? So it's really bringing you in and making you feel welcome in here. Great. And you can see here the artist rendering for an indoor-outdoor garden. So you can see all the lovely light that's there, all the plants, and really creating that enjoyable experience there. What we have done is we've moved that pool table to being inside the indoor garden space, because as we were sitting looking at the plans, it brought up the fact that the program rooms are just coming out into that space. And if somebody is having a really good game of pool and really into the game, they really might not like having these the club members coming out of the program rooms and kind of invading their game. So we did move that purposely into the indoor garden space. And now what everyone's waiting for is the overnight respite. And we've been waiting for this too. As Melissa said at the outset, we started our planning for this building with I think 3 or 4 beds, because we really wanted to be able to expand the adult day program. But it was a community very loud and clear said, no way, you need more beds. And so we went back to the drawing board and actually then designed the program to have 8 overnight beds. So I'll give you the layout of the floor plan of the building, and then I'll talk about some of the logistics of access. So you can see as you enter would be on the far left. You can see the purple area there is the dining experience. So again, that small, intimate, this is where people would have breakfasts. They perhaps would have their evening supper here. Or maybe they're just up in the middle of the night and they want a cup of tea, right? So this is meant to be all open for them to be able to explore whenever they would like. So there is a fireplace there as well. That's kind of what that long rectangle is. And there is a servery there that we can keep all the materials needed for breakfast and suppers as well. You can see all the lovely additional bathrooms. The other thing we're always excited about. And that's where Laura is right now. Just there we go. That's a shower area. So that would be for any of our guests that need to have a shower in their day or in the evening or morning. You can see the 8 bedrooms. So they're the light blue section. And how the design is that they'll actually be going into, there's a door into a vestibule, and then 2 bedrooms would be sharing a bathroom. Yep, so that's great. So that's a vestibule that they would go into. And then there's actually between all the bedrooms, of course, there's doors so that people can have their privacy in their own bedroom. And then the yellow section is the living room area. So again, people can relax here during the evening. There won't be any set times that people go to bed. So it really is meant to be person-centered. So and the other idea that we're putting in here too is also have recliners in this space. So that's one thing we did hear from other providers is that it might be best to have recliners here because sometimes that's what people sleep in at home, that they don't typically sleep in a bed. So, so we've listened and that'll be kind of the furniture that we'll be planning for this space. There's a few couches, there's a few love seat, and then some recliners in this space. And then I'll speak about the individual rooms, I think, on the next slide. Yeah, so there's a picture of the concept of our bedroom. So what we're looking for here is we will be using hospital beds in our rooms as well to ease transfers, right? So it will be PSWs providing care. So being able to lower a bed or change the height depending on a person's ability to transfer. The other thing we're doing is creating kind of an effect on the back of the wall, an accent wall feature to really have the room have a presence, so that it doesn't matter where the bed is actually located. You always know kind of where the head will be by having the accent wall behind it. And then, of course, our rooms will be specially decorated with some lovely, beautiful quilts that have already been made by the Oakville Quilters Guild. And they'll really provide the warmth and the comfort of what home is through the use of these quilts. So we're very thankful for that work of the quilts. Right. And this gives you a kind of an artist rendering of the dining room space. So you can see the fireplace there, really creating the mood and the ambiance. And the living room area. The only change we made here in the design is, because my dreams, I always dream big first, as I had another whole patio at the back there. So we did have to change that in one of our budget cost saving things. So what that is, it is a wall. It's a full wall with a door for the emergency exit that will be at the back of the building. But this is why we also changed so that people will be able to access the indoor-outdoor garden space as well, to make sure it's beneficial at all times of the day. And then if we ever do want to, we can always put a patio at the back.
You'll have noticed that Renita never stops dreaming.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Great. So what is this overnight respite piece? So it is going to be open to current club members, of course. And then we'll be taking referrals from the LIN or from the Ontario Health teams, or from whatever the coordinating body will be at the time. We'll work with them in setting up referrals, as well as being able to take referrals from community. The assessment will be very similar to an adult day program assessment, except we'll be asking questions about, what a person's bedtime routine is, what their morning time routine is, what is it that makes them have a successful night. So we'll be working, so those are the types of questions that we'll be asking for the overnight care. And of course, the other caveat is here that they must be able to participate in the adult day program during the day. So these bedrooms will be closed by probably around 11:30 in the afternoon, in the morning. I guess that's still morning. And there will be no staffing in that area at that time. So the people, our guests, must be able to participate in the day program in the day. We're imagining there's going to be a 2-night trial. But in the plans right now, it's like on a Tuesday and a Wednesday night, which tend to be the lower nights that are booked. And we are asking that any medications come in 2 days prior, so we can just verify that we have the right medications for the whole time of the stay. And then after a successful trial, you can then book stays up to the next 4 months. We try not to do too far out so that you can't book a bed for next year, because we know life changes and a person's progression changes as well. So we want to make sure that we know the needs and we can meet those needs at the time. How do you reserve? Believe it or not, when we first announced that, I did actually have a couple of people call me and say, I'd like to reserve a bed for 2 years from now. So we are thinking, and I got to say, this is kind of what our thinking is around this. We really need to be able to run the program for a year to really kind of fine tune it. So this is kind of on the outset what our thinking is. The individuals be able to reserve a maximum of 23 days within the year, a maximum of 14 days consecutively, so a good 2-week block. And then we're thinking of maxing it at 5 weekends a year. This is just to make sure that we give enough choice and opportunity to as many people as we can. And that we will ask for it to be a minimum of 2 nights. The cost will be $76 for the overnight portion, and then $24 for the day program portion. And as always, there is a subsidy program if these costs are too overwhelming for someone who really needs it, but they can't afford it. So then we would certainly look at a subsidy. Okay. So we kind of figured out what check-in, check-out would be. So we're imagining checking in would be somewhere around in the afternoon, 2 to 3:30. We'll work with the caregiver to make sure that we've logged all the belongings. We know what everyone's coming in with. And then from that check-in time to about 7:30 in the evening, our guests will participate in the day program. We're thinking supper around 6. And then from 7:30 at night to 7:30 in the morning, it will be 12-hour care provided by PSWs. And then from 7:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night, our guests will participate in the day program until it's their departure day and time. The other thing I want to just mention here is that this does not mean that we have to get everybody up at 6 a.m. so that they're participating in the program by 7:30. We looked at that and thought, ooh, that's going to make a really hard day for some of our club members. So what we've done is we've also put in, or we're planning to have a PSW there till about noon hour every morning, so that if somebody gets up at 8 or 8:30 or 9, that we have a PSW to provide care for the morning and help them transition into the day program. We will ask, though, that everyone gets up by 11 o'clock in the morning, because we do need to we just need to have everybody into the day program by that time. And then departure, we're asking caregivers to pick up in the morning from 10 a.m. to noon. Again, we'll ask to spend a bit of time with the caregiver to make sure that we've got all the right belongings going home with the right person. And that we'll also spend some time to review the overnight stay and what that looked like, so that you can leave with assurance and confidence and wanting to book again. Great. Oh, yeah, that's my piece.
Thanks, Renita. So I think you can see, thank you, Renita, for all of those details. Just a reminder that if you do have questions for Renita on how the center will operate, you can type them into the chat, or in a few moments, there will be a time when you can unmute and ask your question. But I hope you can see from what Renita shared that we really have taken a lot of time and spent a great deal of energy trying to make sure that the care that we provide there is very flexible, and it really supports club member choices, that people have a choice of how they enjoy this space. And we've tried to make efficient use of the space also to make sure that we can get the most bang for our buck out of this center. So we think we were really happy when we went through the plans and saw just how many of the requests from caregiver families made it into the final plan. So I know that there's some of you on this call who participated in those, and I hope that you feel really proud that your input made it into the final version. So now, do you want to see where we are now? Yay, dirt and bulldozers. It looks very exciting. So I'm going to take you on a short 3-minute video. Renita and I walked through the space. We're going to keep the sound on the video down because mostly you couldn't hear yourself think. It was a lot of really noisy construction sound, which wasn't pleasant. So we're just going to take a minute to load it up. And here you can see Renita and I were very excited. I carry pom-poms at all times because why not? We're very excited about this. And here is the front of the building. You can see that we've done a ton of digging, and all of the water mains, all the plumbing, all the electrical, so much needed to be brought in. Taking off that front building. This is basically a big brick box. So a lot of the work we need to do is to bring light into the center. So a lot of windows and doors are being cut even right now as we speak. I was very excited there was somebody on the roof. Roof is important. So here we're going into the center, and you can see plumbing rough-ins. We are so excited about our washrooms at Acclaim Health. You have no idea. You should have seen the washroom that was there before. It was super sketchy and scary, so that's very exciting. Here's a window. These are the nice big windows, and these windows are going to go in down the whole length of this building. You'll see that he's cracking open another one there, and all those gray strips down the wall there are lintels for more windows. So these, it's going to be flooded with light when this is done. Renita and I are very excited by more plumbing rough-ins. In case you're never going to be far from a washroom in this building. That's the good news. We're still excited that our heart's there. I feel like it really pumps up the construction guys every morning. Reminds them why they're there. Yes, and thank you so much to everybody on this call who has made this possible, because I think it's an incredible achievement. You can see they're working on the roof joists there up on those towers. We had to reinforce the roof for all the HVAC units that have to go into this building. So we're spending a significant amount on HVAC, but it's important, especially during now, that the air quality is excellent inside the building. So this is where the all-season garden is going to go, our spray painted flowers. And I'm going to show you a picture. That wall is actually now down. So they are making quick work of this wall and opening that space up. It did sort of feel like a disco in there with all the sparks flying. I'm not going to lie. Renee and I may have danced a little bit during this tour. And there's a lot more washroom plumbing stuff happening. And all those gray strips are new windows going in. So those are all the huge windows for the overnight respite bedrooms. So when people stay, they're really going to feel the light and the love in this building. Renita and I striking a pose at the end. But you can see that really the priority was a lot of work on the outside, digging so that we could get the excavations done before the snow and the cold weather came. So that part has been done. This was taken a few weeks ago. And you can see we've taken out all the asphalt and regraded and everything. And there I am at the end. We're very excited. So that was a really quick tour through the space as it existed sort of a week or two ago. And I think, Laura, we have the slide of that wall coming down. I'm just going to give Laura a chance to get to the PowerPoint presentation here. And you can see, all I can hear in my head is Pink Floyd's "It's Just Another Brick in the Wall" when I look at this slide. We're taking it down though, so I feel like that's in our favor. So you can see that's the all-season garden being created there, and just how big it's going to be and how beautiful and how much light is going to come into that building. It's pretty exciting. So today, I don't know if any of you know, but today is Giving Tuesday, and it's a day to celebrate giving. And we really wanted to take a moment and to thank all of you so much. This project has truly been a community effort, and so many people have contributed small and large amounts. So many people have contributed ideas. So many people have joined us when we had to wear our yellow hats at Town Hall to get our zoning bylaw changed. We have had so much support from everyone, and we are so grateful for that. And we are just so appreciative, because this is really a project that we've all built together. And we can't thank you enough for that. I'm happy to report, yes, Laura's got a pom-pom. And you know what? I have a pom-pom too. Actually, my pom-poms are never very far. And I'm happy to report that the project is actually on time and on budget. We're actually even a little bit ahead of schedule right now. So we're only a couple of months into the construction project, so things can change, but we are actually ahead of schedule at this moment. And the new Dementia Care Center, we're expecting it to open in the fall of 2021. So construction's scheduled to be completed in August-ish, all things being equal. I feel like I don't want to jinx anything, but it should be done at the end of August and opening for use for clients and club members in the fall of 2021. So that is pretty exciting. It's amazing, really. So I know that feels, yeah, everybody, woo, if you have your camera on. It's been a long road. So that is very exciting. And now we are going to take some time for questions. So if you have questions, just give us a second to get the settings right here. By all means, type them in the chat if you had a question about anything Renita said or anything about the project. Or you can unmute. So Laura is going to allow, you're going to be able to unmute here shortly if you wish to ask a question. So before, we do have some questions that were submitted ahead of time, and we will get to those. But if you do have a question, feel free to type it in the chat, and otherwise we'll get to the submitted questions. Laura, are there any questions in the chat?
There are no questions in the chat.
Kyle.
I do have one submitted ahead of time, so I can ask that one. I'm going to break it into two halves, though. So the first half, will the new center have flexible program start times, i.e. early afternoon? And will there be transportation options?
Okay, thank you. So the programs, we always try to be flexible at all times. So, you know, the hours aren't changing for the adult day program. It is still 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 for the integrated program. We're always willing to work with you on that flexibility. So if you can only attend for the afternoon, we'll certainly work with you on that. Tuesday nights, we are open to 8:30. That doesn't change. So Tuesday is our day where we can have that flexibility. And having said that, I mean, we do have 8 guests that will be staying overnight. So we will look at it kind of at this point on a case-by-case basis, because we're already providing care for 8. Well, now we can't provide care for 20 because I don't have the staffing that comes with that. But certainly we're always willing to and open to flexible and what works for you. And now that we're there 24 hours, we do have some capacity to be a little bit more flexible. So that's great news. In terms of transportation, as you may know, Cairns was awarded to be the transportation provider from the LHIN. Now they were just awarded that, I would say maybe a year and a half ago, pre-COVID. So, and that's funny now because that's now a standard in our timeline, right? So we'll certainly, I know as part of the planning for them to ramp up their service is to be able to offer some flexibility as part of that funding plan as well. So again, we would work with Cairns to see if they could increase their flexibility around drop off and pickup times.
Okay, and then the second half of the question was, will there be smaller groups and what will the ratio be for participant to worker?
Yeah, so we always follow the best practices of 2 to 1 4 to 1. 2 to 1 would be awesome though. 4 to 1 is our best practice, and what we're funded to provide is for every 1 staff member is able to provide service for 4 club members. And then small groups, yes, we love working in small groups because then we can actually attend to the needs of everybody in the group. So you can see that we've done the plan with a lot of program spaces so that we can run small groups, and then also smaller intimate spaces. So we could also do 1-to-1 because some of our club members actually do better in a 1-to-1 environment than in a large group environment. So.
Yeah, and as you saw through the spaces, that was feedback we got from caregivers and families right at the very beginning. And some of our existing spaces weren't designed with that in mind. So we've had to kind of create sort of as best we could intimate spaces in our current locations, some of them, but in this building, it's been more thoughtfully integrated right from the very beginning. So we're happy about that. Yeah, are there any other questions at this time? You can either type it in the chat. I can see Alicia, you've got your hand up. Go.
Great presentation, thank you. I wasn't sure, looking at the bedrooms for the overnight, are they single?
Yes.
Oh, good, good.
Yes, you do not have to bunk in with somebody you do not know. That wouldn't be very fun. I don't think any of us would want to book into a hotel where you are randomly assigned a stranger to sleep with. So, so we won't be doing that in the Dementia Care Center. Yeah, the rooms are private and you can close the door, like you have your own private bedroom. We did make the decision to share a washroom because most of our guests cannot go to the bathroom on their own. They require, so it's not like they're wandering there, like, you know, they need staff assistance. And so having an individual bathroom wasn't necessarily necessary, but they are, that one bathroom for those 2 bedrooms is dedicated to those 2 bedrooms. And there is a door, you can close the vestibule. So you still have maximum privacy and you have individual privacy while still allowing the staff to provide assistance as required. So we kind of thought that was a good balance. We need to make sure that we can make sure our guests are safe, but still respecting that privacy and that and maintaining that dignity. So that's kind of how we designed it that way. Yeah.
I've got a couple questions in the chat.
Okay, and then I see some hands up. So this will be the lightning round, Renita.
Renita, how does one become a club member?
Oh, good question. So in order to access the adult day program, you have to go through the LIN, you contact the local health integration network, which used to be called CCAC. You contact them in order to make a referral to the adult day program. And then they will do a home visit with you. And it's done that way so that when they come out to do their home visit, not only do they talk to you about accessing adult day program, they'll talk to you about transportation, but they'll also talk to you about what other services perhaps you might need that you weren't sure was available. So by having the LIN come out to do the full assessment, you also kind of get in their system should you need their assessment or their needs later in the journey. So it is by LIN referral. Now, if you have problems doing that, we can also work with you to walk through that process so that we'll take your what they call intake, we'll take your intake information and we'll send it to the LIN to then get them to do a home visit. So you can go through us or you can go through the LIN.
Okay, next question, Laura, from the chat, and then we'll take a few. I see Eve. Yeah, gotcha. You're next after Laura's next question.
How many PSWs will we need?
So there will be 2 PSWs for the, 2.5. So 2 PSWs for the overnight care, and then not a half a person, but I'm thinking FTEs here. So, and then there will be an additional staff person coming in for the morning shift. And then overall that involves a team of PSWs to provide 7 days care.
Okay, Eve, you're up next.
Thank you. The PSW number was one of my questions, so I'm glad that that's been answered. Thank you. The other thing is I just was wondering what kind of fire protocols you have for the people that are staying there at night, and day, obviously, but at night particularly.
Yeah, that's a whole thing, Eve.
That's a great question. So that is something, fire safety and emergency management is top of mind always, and even more so when we were planning this building. So there are designated fire plans so that we do have many doors to access if we need to. The building will be staged with a what they call a two-stage fire alarm system. So the call goes right away to the fire department. So it doesn't require a staff member to make the call. It goes right away to them.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Are there other John Dunsford and Jack. Okay, and then Lynn. I see people waving. I'll get to you. Okay, John Dunsford, you're up.
I just wanted to firstly to congratulate your team on an amazing job and incredible attention to detail. It's very, very impressive. I was just wondering, are there any other facilities quite like this, either in Ontario, Canada, or for that matter, anywhere in North America? And would a lot of the things that are currently in place here be best practices or be presumed to be best practices going forward? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So we did do some research in planning this building, not only in talking with our caregivers, but going out to other providers. So we did visit some other places similar to this, in that there are some places attached to long-term care homes. So there's a place in Kitchener, we went to a place in London, we've had conversations with Ottawa. There are some places, as I said, their day program is attached to a long-term care home, and then they had a wing for overnight respite. So we certainly talked to them about logistics and flowing and you know, the use of the beds. And then of course there's some wonderful best practices across the world. My parents are Dutch, so big one here for Holland, the Netherlands, but they have some beautiful models. You want to talk about future dreams, is that whole dementia care village, and also BC has also just completed some work on that as well. So really creating a village, right, and people being able to freely move within that village. So there's some lovely beautiful models out there. So certainly we've been reviewing that. We've had lots of discussions with other providers to make sure that we're going about this the right way.
But to answer your question, John, there isn't really anything exactly like this. And I think we're quite thankful we're not attached to a long-term care center, certainly through this pandemic, or it would be very difficult to operate those programs right now. So I think that's an advantage for us. And certainly having the integrated day program, there are a few places that provide like just the overnight respite piece, but then you have to find something for your family member to do during the day, which isn't, it gives you a night off, but it doesn't, that's a short period of time. You probably want to sleep during that time too. So you don't get a chance to do many other things. So this is really kind of fairly unique. And I know that it is a model that people are kind of watching to see how it goes. And of course, it's going to be amazing. So yeah. So thank you. Okay, Jack Smy, I think you're up next with your question. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. I certainly am pleased to see that you got the coffee niche in there and the comfy chairs for the caregivers. That's
just what you asked for, Jack, right?
Absolutely.
Huzzah.
That's great. My question really is the relationship between the bond program and Sheridan, other than actually sharing costs of a common space. Are there any overlaps? Will the staff interchange, or if you're a participant of the bond program, can you migrate seamlessly into Sheridan without having to go through Lynn? Is any of that kind of stuff taken care of? So basically, what are the benefits of having the two programs side by each?
Thanks, Jack. And I think that is something we'll discover as we go along too, right? We've never run two programs in one building. But what I can see offset, each program will still retain its staff. So because they're the club members are used to the staff that work in the program. So that is very much important to maintain. I can see a lot of opportunities here as well, right? So if someone, say, is in the early stages of dementia, not really quite appropriate for the programming of the dementia side program, but would be appropriate for programming on the integrated side, and then easily do a transition. So no, I don't think we're one agency. It's been referred to program A or program B. We can transfer people if they're more appropriate from one side to the other. I also see there might be some creative uses of space as well, right? So perhaps, and this is something we're just going to have to trial and error, see the flow of patients, make sure it's not too disruptive, but perhaps some of the clients from the Bond Street program could enjoy something on the integrated side, on the dementia side, and vice versa. So that is going to be our trial and error to make sure that we're not disrupting programs that, but there are clients at one building. It makes perfect sense to have an easy flow from one program to the other, according to the needs of the person.
Thank you. Just want to follow up on that. Will you share catering and stuff like that, or will it be independent catering or at the same meal? In other words, common meals and this kind of.
Yes. So it will be shared. We will be still having meals catered to the building, still using the Oakville Meals on Wheels program. Our kitchen is not set up to cook. And that was very clear in, and that if you talk about fire prevention, that was very important in the building plan. Is the kitchen is not set up to cook, so we can bake to our heart's delight at any time, but it will be the one meal provider and providing the meals for both programs.
Okay, so I'm just conscious of time. I know Lillian, you have your hand up, so I'm going to take your question, and then we had a question in the chat about the fundraising side of things, so I'll answer that one. So Lillian, go ahead.
Hi, I'm really impressed with your plan. I worked in planning and redevelopment in healthcare several years ago when I worked in Toronto, Hamilton, Niagara Falls. My question is, I noticed there's only one shower for 8 bedrooms, and as somebody who takes 2 showers a day, it seems to me there'd be a big lineup.
Well, we have 24 hours to get everybody showered, 8 people through a shower, so that's 3 hours per person for your shower time. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, the showers was a difficult concept, right? Because I know, should we have more? It does take a significant space in the planning, and as well, there are also people that don't prefer to shower as well. So really kind of conscious of trying to maximize the space the best we can. But certainly if you like to have a shower at night and a shower in the morning, that should be doable.
Okay.
Yeah, our goal is to really make sure that whatever the routine is at home
Yeah.
transfers to the program. And that's really our focus. So I do know it's 11:02, and if you have to drop off, that's fine. We do have a few more questions, so we're going to stay on and answer those. One of the questions we got is, do club members pay for the program now? And yes, there is that $24 co-payment. The actual cost to have somebody in the program is around $140 a day. So through government funding and our own fundraising efforts and the support of the United Way, we are able to get that down to $24 per day per client. And of course, as Renita said, we do have a subsidy program. So we do have people that we pay that full amount for them on a sliding scale, depending on what the needs are of the family. We are a charity. Our goal is to get care to people, and we will make that happen through whatever means necessary. That's really our focus, and that same approach will transfer to the overnight respite costs as well. So we are not going to be turning people away if that cost is prohibitive. There was a question about the total cost of the project and where we are at from a fundraising perspective. So the total cost of the project, and I'm just going to talk in rounded numbers here, is about $10 million. From the outset, Acclaim Health's plan was to kick in $1 million of our own reserves, which we have done, and to get a loan for the purchase of the building. So we did do that as well. We did purchase the building, I don't know, whenever that was, a year or so ago, and such as it is ours now. And so we have been paying that down since then. The remainder, we had been planning to fundraise for, and I'm really happy to report that we are at $6.2 million right now. So we have done a fantastic job of getting the word out to the community, and the community has done an even more amazing job of responding. And I think it's just been incredible. I think if your life has been touched by dementia, you immediately understand the need for this center. And we have not had to convince people. There's no arm twisting on our part. People have really just rallied to the cause, and that has been extraordinary. So we are so thankful. Many of our supporters are on this call, and just so thankful that we've been able to get to this point. So we do still have the loan on the building. Construction costs are going to be approximately 6.5, including contingency. We'll see where that is a bit of an, as anyone who's done a renovation knows, that can change a little bit. And the building cost was 2.3, and then there's furniture and permits and so many permits and like environmental assessments and horrible things that I now know all about. But anyway, so we're getting there, but the end is in sight. So that's where we are there. I think we did have one more question about how COVID is affecting plans. Well, yeah, like everything else, it has affected our plans. It did delay the start of our construction. We had been planning to start in the spring, and then when the pandemic hit, that start was delayed. So right away, from a construction perspective, that was had an impact. But in terms of the programming, if you've been watching or at all involved in the day program, you know our day programs have opened and closed and opened and closed and opened and closed and opened and closed a few times during the pandemic. And I'm sure the caregivers on this call are ready to just like throw in the towel. It's been horrible, but we've been fighting to stay open and trying to open if we can, because we know how important that respite care is for families. We want to be open if we can be, albeit with limited numbers during the pandemic to keep everybody safe. So that being said, where we will be come fall of 2021 remains to be seen, but we are hoping, I mean, at the very least, we feel we should be able to open in a limited capacity initially until the vaccine is more widespread, although we might be mostly vaccinated by then. I don't know, but we have plans upon plans upon plans for wherever we happen to be at that moment, and we will open if we possibly can, and as long as it is safe to do so, though. We won't put anybody's health at risk. It may be something like we can only have 4 overnight guests initially because we don't want to have sharing of washrooms or something like that. Like, we will adapt. to what needs to happen in the short term till we can get through this. And we have paid particular attention to the HVAC systems, particularly in the overnight respite areas, so that we can make sure that the air quality is quite good. So, Lynn, I think Lynn is our board chair. You have to unmute yourself. You're still muted, Lynn. There you go.
Thank you. I have the honor of being chair of the board through this project, and I'm not going to repeat all the things that everybody has already said, but I do want to say how pleased we are to be able to bring you up to date on what your giving has done for us, and what better time than on Giving Tuesday. So thank you all for coming, and we hope to see you again soon.
Absolutely. And unless there are any final questions, I will let Lynn leave it at that. You can always get a hold of Renita and I. We are always here to answer your questions. If you do think of something after the presentation, this presentation was recorded, so we will be emailing this out. If there's somebody who missed it or you want to sort of see the presentation again, by all means, you can do that. So once again, thank you so very, very much for coming. I hope you found it useful. I hope you found the information interesting. And most of all, thank you so, so much for making this project happen. It is going to be amazing. And we're hoping we can have a big old party in the fall of 2021 to celebrate. And won't that be awesome? So thank you so much, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Steve. Yeah.
Thanks.